Only took you like a month, Kevin, to get a little bit of controversy going. You know what I mean?
Oh, it won't be the last one, buddy. It won't be the last one.
Only took you about a month.
Big show today, ladies and gentlemen. We have Kiz, Trent, myself, and there's a lot of pressing things going on. We've made news yet again in the foreplay world with some of our discussion about the broadcast and the final round of the Masters. So we lead off with Kiz especially sort of addressing that, saying what he would like to say about the matter. We all chime in. We got huge LIV Golf news, which we kind of go through the entire timeline. We got a new hater video. We got a lot going on. It's all brought to you by the Chevy Equinox, which is your do-it-all SUV. I love the Chevy Equinox. We've been on the road every week. Snip, snap. Florida, back to West Coast, East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, West Coast. Whenever we're out there on the road, the Chevy Equinox has been such a great tool, such a great vehicle for us to get around in. We've got equipment, camera gear, golf clubs like you wouldn't believe, different outfits. All of it fits. They got the storage, hidden storage. We just love Chevy, and they provide all of this opportunity for us.
Yeah, it is a big show. Kiz has his comments off the top, and then we kind of play out every scenario with what's going on with LIV. We don't fully know what's going on. I don't think the players fully know what's going on. I don't know who knows what's going on, but we kind of play out every scenario on where that could go. And yeah, it's a great show, and it's all brought to you by our very, very, very good friends at Chevrolet.
They've got active trim. They got this big touch screen. Puts all your music, all your tech, all your maps front and center. Big thanks to Chevy supporting our show, allowing us to do what we do. The Chevy Equinox. It is your do-it-all, go-anywhere SUV. Foreplay, presented by Barstool Sports. We are back. Our great friend Frankie Borelli III is traveling right now. So you got myself, Trent, and Kevin Kisner. We got Ryan Richin on the ones and twos. You know, the Foreplay podcast in the last 3 or 4 weeks is we've just made some news, man. We don't always make news. You're not always trying to make news, but we've just kind of made some news with this podcast. There's a couple big talking points to get to on the show. There's a couple administrative things to talk about that I would like to get to, but two big ones, obviously the coverage talk from the last show and sort of that conversation, all of it getting out there. And then we got some huge news in the LIV Golf world that we kind of got to comb through. Like we're gonna take a fine combed tooth comb to the process in which all of this information has come out from LIV. And I think we ended up where we started on it. So we want to get to that. But first, we have to discuss the coverage situation and kind of the whole conversation about it from our vantage point at Barstool Sports and Foreplay. We're on a completely different end of the spectrum from the television world. We always have been. I think Dave and Barstool literally exist because of that. I think that's kind of how he positioned himself. So now we've got Kiz, who dabbles in the complete opposite of what we do, which is the TV world. He is the lead analyst for RBC Golf, and their coverage does an amazing job. And then he also jumps on here and gives his very raw opinion on what's going on in the golf world with us, who speak about it however the hell we want. So we live in a completely different world than Kiz lives in. And it's been insanely awesome for us adding Kiz to the entire thing, from the announcement video to the YouTube videos to how good the podcasts have been to you getting guests and all of it. However, as we found out, there could be times where I don't even know how anybody could have 1 foot in one world and 1 foot in the other. I think Kiz himself, everybody's trying to figure all that out. So without further ado, I think that the way that the conversation went got a ton of coverage. It got clipped and all of that. So I think the best thing is pretty much Kiz. I'm going to say my piece at some point. Trent will say his, but I'm going to throw it to Kevin Kisner and just kind of get your 2 cents on everything over the last several days.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. It's been a interesting few days, but it is what it is, man. And I just have to apologize to the golf team at CBS. I crossed the line probably too much by talking about that whole content. And I know from my short time in the business how wild production is, right? It is a very difficult thing to produce a live show and make it all work. And everybody does their best. NBC screws up all the time, and we're just trying to do our best. And I went too far on being critical on them, and I just want all the people associated with it to know I apologize. And they're our partners in our with the PGA Tour, and they continue to showcase in a great way the game we all love. And they're all trying to do their best, and I was too critical of them.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting ecosystem in the coverage and broadcasting world, especially in golf, because there's really two entities that do it. It's you guys at NBC and it's CBS, and it's way more of a passing of the torch, it feels like, than it is this like cutthroat competition. And so, you know, one thing that I think is cool is being able to get the perspective of somebody like you who is in the business. And I think that the way it came off to me, the way you were speaking about it, was not on Sunday in any way a reaction of any individual. We weren't going after any individual. We weren't even going after, I didn't think, like the broadcast as a whole. I think you very much were almost treated to like the a combination of the fan experience with also doing the radio job, where there are parts of what happens in live TV that as a viewer just frustrate you sometimes. And that's not any individual person's fault. And there are so many people over there that we love to death. Colt Knost, one of my best friends out here, used to do a video with him. He's been on our show a bunch. I've been on their show a bunch. I imagine and hope that'll continue to do so. I was on the flight over with Colt Knost the entire way over there. And, you know, we were talking afterwards about his you know, big week, working 14 at Augusta, how excited he was. I was like, good luck. And so Trevor Emelman, great friend of the program. He's been on a bunch. He welcomed us into his home. Him and his wife made us dinner. So, like, we love all of those people. And I know you do as well. Kiz, I just think, and again, we're going to talk about this, I'm sure, at length, but it's a bit of a thankless job, especially even like when you do it, Kiz, of, you know, you could do 99 things in a row, great, and then you do one thing that people didn't love, and that gets highlighted. So I think that could be, it's an unfortunate part. And I also think for us, like the same way that CBS, NBC, you guys are trying to do your job and have to do your job in presenting the broadcast, we do our job in terms of like, we watch the Masters and we watch the US Open, and then we come on this show and people listen to hear us talk about it like they experienced it. And that's how people experienced it. And we're just kind of reacting to how people experience it. So I agree with you. I feel terrible if it did come off like anybody crossed the line or was going after anyone, or if anyone felt that it puts them at jeopardy or poor conversations. That sucks, because like we do our own job all the time and nobody wants to have people coming after how you're doing it or not doing it or whatever. But I also would just defend from our vantage point, like it's our job to come on here. And I think that a lot of the it's okay to understand that people work their ass off, do an amazing job, and then also people are humans, and like there are parts of it that are mistakes, and like we're gonna talk about those.
Yeah, I think what we've all learned from this is that broadcasting golf is really, really difficult, and no matter what side you're on, NBC, CBS, like we talked about it during the last show, like golf is such an interesting sport in that it's impossible really to show everything all at once, because all the shots are happening all at once. So there's varying degrees to which you can show all these live shots, and different companies choose different ways to do it. And I think we just kind of found out from the last show and the reaction to all of it that like, you know, there's a pretty particular way people go about it and how it's going to be how they do it going forward. And it's just this whole world that's just a very difficult thing to broadcast. And you know, we've come on this show a lot in the past and talked about different broadcasts that didn't get 1/1,000,000th of the headlines that Kevin Kisner got. Now I understand that he is in the position that he's in at NBC, so that was different from what we've done in the past. But yeah, I mean, I would also say like I appreciate Kevin Kisner having an opinion. Like we brought him on this podcast to have an opinion. Now sometimes you come on here, we've done it before hundreds of times. You just let it fly, and then you're like, oh yeah, we were on a podcast, and like people are going to hear that. Sometimes we're just sitting here kind of talking, and it's like, oh man, I don't know where it's going to go. But my main takeaway from it all was like, Kevin Kisner is allowed to have an opinion, and I'm glad he's willing to come on the show and give it. Sometimes you do it the right way. Sometimes you do it in a way that maybe rubs people the wrong way. But we're on the Barstool side of it, I love opinions like that. And it's just, I appreciate you obviously coming on here and also saying like, hey, maybe I did this wrong. Maybe I did this right. But at the end of the day, I am thrilled that your opinion, Kevin Kisner, is on this show.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like I'm still wearing so many hats. So,
right.
I'm the lead analyst for 10 weeks a year. Then I still play some, and then I do Barstool. And then, so, I'm going to screw up. That's just the bottom line. I'm going to screw up and probably shouldn't have gone down that road at all. I could have just stepped out and said, look, I was involved in the tournament. I don't need to really have an opinion on it. And, but, then I sit here and we do this all the time. And I'm like, well, I do have an opinion. I want to tell my opinion. So it's an interesting line to walk. And I'm sure we're going to get, people coming after us every time I get on the NBC show now. But I can handle it. It's all good. And, I'm not trying to like hurt somebody when I had that opinion. That's the craziest thing in the world. I was just frustrated as others and let it all come out and, piss some people off, apologize to them, and we'll move on. Won't do it again.
Yeah, and I'm with Trent. I love it. I think that's why I sort of wanted to lead off with, just setting the table that I do think it's an extremely difficult line to walk of like TV and network broadcasts. Dude, we're talking about CBS and NBC. That's network television, baby. That is the farthest world from our world, and there are like regulations about what you can say, and there's partnerships and there's sponsorships and agreements that have been in place for 100 years, and that's just a completely different world. And then you do come on here, and what I think makes you great, Kiz, is like you can do both. You can wear all the different hats. You could be blading bunker shots into the pin on TGL, and then the next week you're winning a match against Wyndham Clark to send your team into the playoffs. And the next week you're on the final call for the final putt of the Players Championship. And then the next night you're on here talking about a broadcast. So it's just like, I think that's insanely cool that you're able to do that. I think it's awesome that you're willing to do that. And I know from experience, it gets you in some hot water sometimes. It's like we for 10 years have been on here giving our opinions about stuff and giving our takes. I think we're pretty lucky that it's confined to the golf world, right? It's like not that serious. It's the golf world. But one of the big takeaways for me too is that I'm a pretty I'm a pretty thick-skinned person who is not very sensitive to outside noise and things being said about me or to me at all. And so when other people, I'm not great at understanding that other people are pretty sensitive to stuff because stuff rolls off of me, and I just generally haven't cared that much. And if I do, we were kind of talking quite a bit this week. We've been on the internet for 10 years. I would say on the daily, hundreds, if not thousands of people ridicule, criticize, downright hate upon what we do for a living and how we do it. And not just in the comment section, but people with platforms, people with podcasts, people with YouTube channels, people with huge social followings, people at our own company, people with gigantic shows at our own company will go, and be quite critical of us and the way that we do our stuff. I never really get that annoyed about it. And if I ever feel like I need to respond to it, I do it publicly. That's how I do it. I'll call into their show or I'll get into it and happily hash it out. And so for me I'm always just a little bit surprised at the sensitivity to things because I don't take much personally. And I understand that everybody's different. And so I'm with you where I do feel bad when things that, again, we're on the podcast. It seems in this world like I'm talking to you two and Ryan Richardson's the only person listening. And that's the extent of this entire conversation. And then you see parts of it are getting clipped. People write articles about it. And it is a natural human reaction to be like, oh shit. Okay. Well, now it's a bigger thing than I thought it was. I didn't mean for it to be that big. Oh, I guess I'm standing, so that can happen in the podcast game. I still, through all of it, don't think it's crazy to sit here and be like, I wish I could have seen how Sam Burns made double on 2. I wish I would have gotten the video footage of Scotty Scheffler making birdie on 3 before I got the notification on the app. I wish the shots from Rory were shown more clearly on the last hole of the Masters tournament. I still don't think that's crazy to say. I feel like we wouldn't be doing our job as hosts of this show if we didn't address it. And so all those things I think can exist at the same time. I think you can all be reflect a little bit about like, oh yeah, did we cross the line here? Did we cross the line there? And I think all that's fine. I hope that we live in a world where, and I know that we don't, where it's like okay to have those conversations and not just everybody be mad and outraged at each other and that's it. It's now over and nobody can ever have a different opinion ever. And I think that that's part of this show. I think when I was going through the Tiger Woods saga, I had a bunch of people in the last 3 weeks that have come up to me and been like, you know what I fucking love, man? That you 4 hashed it out on the show and everybody was able to have a different opinion and nobody took it personally. And the very next show you did, everybody's fine and we move on. We've been doing it that way for 10 years. And that's just kind of the way this ship runs. And so I do think when things get outside of our little sphere here and people don't get how we kind of do it, things aren't taken the right way. And I do feel bad when that sort of hurts people for sure.
Only took you like a month, Kevin, to get a little bit of controversy going. You know what I mean?
Oh, it won't be the last one, buddy. It won't be the last one.
Only took you about a month.
Yeah. That was wrong time for a turkey hunt with no service, I guess. Came out of the woods and I was like, oh, my phone is blowing up. What's going on?
I will say this. CBS with the most watched Masters coverage since 2015. I saw they averaged on Sunday, I believe they were averaging nearly 14 million viewers. So no matter what we say here on the broadcast coverage, I think they should be hooting and hollering. It's great for golf. It's great for everybody that kind of does what we do, that many people being tuned in. And I think it makes sense. An incredible leaderboard. The weather was awesome. And I think the hype for the Masters was high. I think when you get names like Rory and Scotty, the most viewed Masters I think ever was Tiger winning by 12 shots. So it's like, we all worry going into the weekend about was Rory going to run away with it? In some wild world, that narrative Friday and then going into the weekend, I think kind of gets people going and transcends the game a little bit about like, oh shit, that guy's doing the thing. I might have to tune into that. Whatever it is, it worked, boys, because the massive ratings for CBS.
That's an insane number, 14 million viewing. Just
Massive.
Knowing what I don't know any of those numbers till I started doing the business, and that's incredible how many people were watching.
No, just massive. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a good sign. I know both CBS and NBC in the last couple of years, kids, you guys have experienced significant viewership and what would be considered huge successes in that, which I think a couple years ago, it would be a little surprising to hear that right now. I think there was this concern of the fracturing in the game. You can't have golf's too fragile. You can't have a bunch of players going to one league and then some staying here and people just aren't going to put up with it. There's too many ways for folks to be entertained. There's streaming services. There's other sports. You're going to lose their interest. Over the last year, 2 years, I feel like month after month, I just keep seeing very good reports of ratings for network golf.
Yeah, we did 6 weeks in a row. I wouldn't know all the numbers off the top of my head, but our ratings are up. Players Championship was up. I think it's great for the whole game that we all love is that, whatever network's covering it, people are still watching it and in record numbers. That's good for everyone in the business. And as you were starting that, I thought you were going down a whole nother segue to the whole LIV Golf thing when you started with the fracturing of golf. So it's like, here we go.
That was more of an Easter egg, Kiss. It was more of like I put a little Easter egg in there for you.
Yeah, I like the Easter egg. And I was like, I got to know what's going on. My buddies that I'm in the woods with hunting are like, so LIV Golf's done. And I was like, dude, what? I had no idea. And this guy I'm sitting on a tree with tells me, he's like, yeah, I didn't have my phone with me. And he's like, yeah, look right here.
It's 8:40 p.m. Wednesday night. And I when we're recording this, and I mentioned that because news has been weird today with that. Like, I feel like last night we sort of started hearing about what was going on, but we never got any reports or anything confirmed. And then today was even weirder. Didn't you feel that way?
I still think it's weird to right now.
Agreed.
So I'm going to go through it because the way that it kind of unfolded, I think, is very interesting. Ryan French, a.k.a. Monday Q, who's great, does a great job of covering. Obviously started with kind of the Monday qualifier. That's still his hook, but he's awesome. He's a really good dude, takes it all very seriously, and covers golf in a different way. He's awesome. He tweeted out last night, I've heard from multiple sources that a bombshell announcement on LIV's future is imminent. We don't give out gambling advice, but if you're a prediction market type person, I would bet the under of whatever they have posted. I think that was in reference to like it's gonna end before the over hits is kind of what I think that was alluding to. Then a few hours later, he was on a Spaces and he said, and I'm not going to have Ryan Richard pull it up, but he said, I have some very good sources and others have great sources that LIV is shutting down. So that combined with the earlier tweet, was like, okay, tomorrow LIV is announcing that they're shutting down. This morning, on Wednesday, the Telegraph reported LIV Golf executives have been summoned to NYC for an emergency meeting amidst reporting that the league's future is in question. Players are reportedly, quote, in the dark over the future of, and the meeting has nothing to do with a potential DP World Tour merger. Then Alan Shipnuck tweeted out, MBS wants to use the war to essentially pull the plug on LIV. Rich Lerner tweeted out that players are, quote, awaiting their fate. Laura Loomer tweeted out later that the Saudi PIF reportedly just pulled all of its funding for LIV Golf League. The tournament tomorrow will likely not take place in Mexico. LIV Golf might be finished. These reports really got people going. Then the Financial Times kind of came in. It was like everybody, it was like the, I do enjoy this with the like real actual Big J journalism and media where once someone reports it, then like the next big outlet has to be the next one to report something. So you see like
Right.
New York Times, you see Financial Times, you see like all this coming in, but Financial Times, then it was like their turn, right? Somebody tapped them in. They said LIV Golf in a panic as PIF is nearing a decision to stop funding the operation. I actually read through that article quite a bit, and it really went through the idea that, the PIF has been kind of repositioning their stance. The war in Iran and all of that has played in kind of a big factor, and they're sort of like trying to reshape the way that they're going to spend their funds, what they're going to invest in geopolitically, culturally, financially, all of it. So then the New York Times came out again. Now it was their turn to jump in. It said high-level LIV executives have begun their own personal job searches. They were informed Sunday after the Masters that they would soon lose their positions. LIV is reportedly trying to find a way forward with no PIF investment and a smaller budget. So there were a bunch of reports going on as well that the Pro-Am today would not take place. That ended up taking place. Sergio Garcia in his press conference didn't really deny or confirm. He just said, like, we don't really know anything. We're kind of just waiting to hear as well. So during all of that talk, it felt like things were completely like it was imminent that someone was going to announce pretty soon that LIV is either over before this event starts, over after this event starts, or at least something was going to be announced that LIV Golf was over. Then LIV Golf CEO Scott O'Neill sent an internal note, an email to the LIV Golf staff in the wake of all the rumors. This is quite the note, but he said, I want to be crystal clear. Our season continues exactly as planned, uninterrupted, and at full throttle. While the media landscape is often filled with speculation, our reality is defined by the work we do on the grass. That's like an AI line right there. We are heading into the heart of our 2026 schedule with the full energy of an organization that is bigger, louder, and more influential than ever before. The life of a startup movement is often defined by these moments of pressure. We signed up for this because we believe in disrupting the status quo. It's not true. You signed up because of money. We have faced headwinds since the jump, and we've answered every time with resilience and grace. Now we answer by doing what we do best, putting on the most compelling show in Sports. That, my friends, if all of these rumors are actually true, that, my friends, will go down as just an iconic email to send.
Also, not exactly a denial in regards to
No.
what's happening. At no point does he say, we are still fully funded by the PIF. All of these reports are categorically false. It really does sound like the stand of a man who just learned that all of his funding was going away, but he signed up and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna see this thing to the end, and I'm gonna give a really, really rambunctious rally call, is what that felt like to me personally.
Rambunctious rally call is it. And in fact, you were using so many extravagant words that I was having trouble following while you were reading it. But I just read, like, walking down here to get on the pod, that players are talking about not playing tomorrow unless full payments made for quarter one or something. So I don't know if that's true either. I can look it up.
So yeah, there were like some mixed reports as well over the last several hours that players haven't been paid for a couple weeks. So obviously that was a giant concern.
Big thing.
I imagine that's a big thing. I was confused too a little bit because, like, the way I understand it, the PIF is LIV. So like LIV, I don't even know, like, if PIF just stops funding LIV, like, it's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to try to figure out how to run this without the PIF funding. It's like, no, you're just done, right? You have nothing.
Well, I don't know where they would get enough sponsor money to pay what's on the hook. 20 million purses. They fly, all this build out at all these courses. But they've probably got contracts with all these golf courses that they're paying to play. I don't know their business, man. I've never really asked about their business a lot, but I cannot imagine what their expenditures in the future are. And, if they're not paying people, then it just stops. People just quit playing. I can promise you that. They're not going to do it out of the goodness of their heart, especially over there.
Right. It seems, we've talked about this from the beginning with LIV, where all of the money that's going into it, paying all of the players, putting on these extravagant tournaments, like, the return on investment never seemed like it was ever going to be there. So then it made people think about what are the other reasons why the PIF is trying to make golf a thing. And people have a lot of varied opinions about that, sports washing, the whole thing. So like you guys are saying, if they pull their money, there's no business, there's no sponsor, there's no anything that would ever come in, look at the books of LIV and be like, oh, this is a viable thing. This whole entire operation was propped up by the PIF because they were spending all of this money that didn't make any sense. So when you have other really smart businessmen coming in, if this is the case, by the way, all of this is alleged, we have no idea. But if you have other really smart businessmen coming in, they're going to look at all this and be like, fold this thing up. It's over. It never made sense to begin with.
Yeah. And we've had so many conversations about LIV, the origins of LIV, the motivations of LIV. I don't think Yasser Al-Rumayyan is ever going to, come on here and be like, this is precisely why I got behind the LIV idea. There's, if you talk to Brandel Chambly or you talk to John Rahm, you're going to get wildly different opinions on where that comes from. The thing that I will say has been a consistent through line throughout the entire thing is that it financially makes no fucking sense. And so if it makes financially no fucking sense, then you have to look at, okay, we live in a world where money drives everything. I think every answer for every complicated situation we've ever heard in the history of our society, people have said, trace the money. And when you trace the money, you come up with the answer usually to why things happen. So if the money is not, if it's not a financially viable endeavor that they're doing, what are the other reasons? And the only other reasons that you really can come up with are pretty nefarious, or they're pretty, like, Yasser wants a green jacket. He's like, or Yasser wants to get into the R&A, and he wants to be, he loves golf, right? He's like LeBron James now, and he's just like really into golf, and he's like, it's cool as shit if I have yacht parties with Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka. It's cool as shit if I have a seat at the table. It's cool as shit if I get to tower over Jay Monahan on CNBC after we announce like a merger because I'm into golf, and that's cool. But if none of those reasons are money, then the second that they decide to just pull the money, brother, you got nothing going on with the LIV situation.
The entire business model has been based on money from the get-go. Like, we're going to get all the
Right.
talent because of money. We're going to play for the most money every week. And so with no money, you have no business. Have you seen, I don't watch their stuff. Do they have sponsors? Any other sponsors? Like, do they?
Dude, not really. Like, honestly, I was the LIV Golf Adelaide, which I believe is the Anthony Kim, when he won, was like the real true time this year that I tuned into an actual live broadcast. Totally coincidentally, I happened to end my drinking here in Scottsdale on a Saturday night, right when they were making the turn for the back nine on Sunday in Australia. And I was like, I popped an extra beer, Sun Cruiser, and was like, oh shit, Anthony Kim, let's go. And I was able to actually observe it. And no, I didn't notice like I don't even think they went to commercial the whole time I was watching. I don't know. They went to commercial once, and it ain't because they're the Masters tournament, which it was like they were kind of just firing away, and I didn't notice. No, I mean all the one thing that we did. Much of my buddies and I were talking about when you do watch the Masters is how beautiful it is that there is no advertising on the whole golf course. They don't build out grandstands that have depending on FedEx or whatever it might be. I completely get why I do it. You're going to listen to a handful of ads on this very show. I love advertising; it's fucking great. But from a clean broadcast standpoint, the Masters not having to do it and having 4 main sponsors that take care of the whole thing is brilliant. It's awesome. Their merchandise pays for a lot of it, so they don't have to have ads everywhere. It's beautiful. I don't think the LIV Golf Adelaide was in that spot. So when I'm watching it and I noticed that a lot of the branding, on banners that are on the hospitality and such behind, maybe there were a few and I just didn't really notice them a ton, but a lot of it is just LIV Golf brand. It's just like golf but louder in huge letters everywhere. It wasn't like sponsors that necessarily are paying. And I know, I believe I saw that a couple months ago, maybe right before the LIV Golf Tour schedule started, that Yasser signed for in the PIF's behalf, he signed for a $226 million deposit into the LIV Golf fund. So it's like they're literally just pouring money into the LIV Golf. And if you don't have that money coming in, I think you're done, brother. You know what I mean? It's over. That's just kind of how it works.
I don't see any future if there's no money. Like, you can't put on the events without the money. You can't do anything without the money. You think the guys that left are going to just play for free? Like, it makes no sense to me. And the fact is if he wants to try to run it on his own, if Piff actually does pull out, do you know how much money that dude's got to raise? Scott, what'd you say his last name was? Scott O'Neil. Like, he would have to raise the most money ever to try to keep this thing going, and everyone just be like, "Oh, like to Trent's point, like what do you mean? Let me see your books. No chance I'm doing that." I don't know. It's fascinating. If they do fold up, it's the most fascinating way to do something ever.
Dude, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was just thinking, if this is the end for LIV, this has been the most fascinating 5-year experiment in professional sports about what works and what doesn't. Like, I mean, there was a time, and we all remember it, when guys were jumping ship. Phil was jumping, Dustin was jumping, Patrick Reed was jumping, and it was like, oh my gosh, I think we even talked about on this very show, like, is the PGA Tour in trouble here? Like, what's going to happen with this whole thing if all this talent keeps jumping? Is golf popular enough to put out a product that's fractured and have it actually matter to people who are watching sports? And we sort of lived in that Cold War for 4 years. Nothing got done. There was that weird CNBC with Yasser and Jay Monahan that was just
All time,
go down even further as one of the weirdest news segments of all time. But you just like, you were like, oh my gosh, is this LIV thing actually going to work? And then PGA Tour just sort of sat around. Rory and Scotty obviously helped. They had incredible runs that made people pay attention. And as it went on and on and on, it just sort of like, well, it turns out if you're just a very strong league with an interesting product, people who care, people want to tune into tournaments that they know about. I think that's a big part of this, of just knowing the tournaments and knowing where it airs and knowing you can turn on your TV and be like, this is where I watch golf. And that is where you go to watch golf. And all these different little layers to it where it's like, what actually makes a sports league popular. And it's not just all this talent and sort of like acting like you're going to be a disruptor. It's kind of legacy things and people caring about people involved in the tournaments, the golfers playing in these tournaments, caring about winning a certain event because Tiger Woods won there 20 years ago or whatever. All of that stuff ends up mattering. You can dump as much money as you want into something, and it's not going to make the viewer care more. It's going to make guys jump. Guys who are involved in that particular vocation are going to be like, oh, I'll just go over there and make a bunch more money. But for the people watching, we don't get any of that money. We just want to watch the best players in the world play whatever sport that we're watching. And that ends up being the thing that wins out in the end. If you wait long enough, that's going to win out. It turns out to be the case.
I've got a question about that whole deal. Y'all were like jogging my brain with the Yasser J thing. Was that when they just randomly announced they were going to do a framework deal or whatever?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, out of the blue.
Has there ever been an update to that?
I don't think there's been a single substantial update once since then.
That was like 2 years ago now, right? 3 years ago?
Three maybe.
It's fascinating. I've never even nobody's ever said a word about it in like 2 years to me. So that's why I was.
Were you on like the council at the time, Kiz?
I was on the council like through COVID, and then LIV started, and then I got off. I was like 20 to 22 or something. Pretty rough time to be on the board.
Jesus Christ. I can't even imagine that.
COVID was the worst thing ever. Yeah, COVID, we talked on the phone every day for hours for like 70 straight days.
I'm sure.
Oh, sometimes those are meetings just to meet too, you know?
Yeah, well, just most of the time trying to figure out how to go back to play golf. And, you know, that was brutal. But the LIV thing wasn't easier either because I didn't think they were actually going to do it. You know, I thought it was all BS. And then next thing I know, it's like, bam, we're starting. These guys are gone.
Rory called it dead in the water. And then it got so close, he had to walk that back. And you know, to what Trent was saying earlier, it felt like at the time, an impending tipping point where we would discuss it a lot here. It'd be like, okay, how many players does LIV have to get to where LIV is just the tour that we watch, right? Like, I'm not saying they were close to getting to that. Maybe they weren't. It appears that they weren't. But at some point, if you took the top 60 players in the world currently and they were all on LIV,
yeah, we'd be watching.
That's what I mean. Like at some point. So I'm not saying they could have gotten all 60, but like, okay, if they got to a point where it was like they had all the guys they currently had 2 years ago, they had Rahm and Bryson and Brooks and Cam Smith and everybody. And then let's say they had also tipped over Rory, Scotty, JT, and Jordan Spieth. Okay. And you're like,
right.
Well, what the fuck am I going to watch on Sunday afternoon? You know, am I going to watch Dan Hicks and Kiz talk about like Russell Henley's 11th straight win on the PGA Tour? Or like, am I going to watch these guys over here battle it out? So like that did feel like there was an impending tipping point that they never got to. Now, Trent, it feels like they're the White Walkers. Like it feels like they built up to this whole thing. And then in one dagger from Aria, they're just like gone. Like it's just fucking gone out of nowhere.
I think the Jon Rahm moment is important. Like I think maybe people on both sides, when Jon Rahm made the jump, I think people maybe on the LIV side were like, this is going to be the thing that cascades us into being the tour. And there might have been people on the PGA Tour side, this is all speculation, where they're like, oh, wow, that's because at the time he was the guy. He was playing the best. He was the world beater. He was like, wow. And then it started to leak out that like, I think Jon Rahm might go to LIV. And we were like, no way. That would be the biggest loss for the PGA Tour because he's a relevant, dominant player. Listen, LIV ran up the score with washed up past champions who weren't in their prime. You get a Jon
Ian
Rahm,
Poulter,
like,
Sergio Garcia, Lee Westwood, all those guys.
Yeah, maybe LIV is the tour where all these hot up and comers are going to be going and playing, but it just didn't work. And I think Rory and Scotty were a big part of that, but it just overall, I just don't know. It was never going to work. Never.
Well, I think there was a point where, like you are talking about, like I was even, how many of these dudes are they going to take before things get really, really weird over here? And the Rahm kind of bombshell was crazy to me because, like you said, he was on the top of the world. and he really likes attention. So I don't understand why he would go over there. And I think he's feeling that in his game right now. Like, hey, I'm not being recognized everywhere I go, and I'm not preparing for the majors the way I probably need to over here. And I don't know if that's causing some of the fracturedness of LIV or if it's just the PIF money. Because you've already seen, Brooks come back, P. Reed leave. Rahm doesn't play great at the Masters. Is he like, this is not getting me ready for all the things I want to do? I don't know. I'm speculating there, but could that be some of the decisions behind what's going on? If John Rahm goes to Yasser and goes, man, I'm leaving too. Like, I can't play poorly in the Masters because I'm playing these crappy golf courses and we're playing music really loud and everybody's getting drunk while I'm playing. I need to get back to work where I can win majors. I don't know. It's just an interesting thought I've had, wondering if some of that amongst the players is making Yasser second guess doing this.
It's a good question. Like, why now? Why now?
Right.
What is happening specifically at this point in time that is making them think, all right, maybe we got to pull out of this thing? Because there have been other points where it maybe would have made more sense, but this one feels like something must have happened. And again, this is all speculation, every bit of it. And by the time this show comes out, LIV could have more funding or no funding. I have no idea what's going to happen.
I did read that interesting take where somebody on one of the Twitter's X, I guess, said that they could drop the funding, but there's all these contracts, with the players, but if they don't pay them, could they get sued? Could they go after the PIF? But with the war, they could force majeure it and just say we don't have to pay because we're over here getting bombed by Iran.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that as well, and I think it's interesting. It's extremely interesting to see how that's going to shake out and how. Yeah, like legally, legally, what does the PIF really bind themselves to? If you want to, I don't know how deep you want to go on, but they seem to kind of take whatever they want, whenever they want at times. So I don't know that if you're Brandon Grace and you're like knocking on Yasser's door in 18 months, being like, hey man, you owe me $12 million. Like, I don't know that's going to end that great for you if you're that guy. So they could just be in a really tough spot. It's a really interesting point you make, Kiz, on like Yasser's mindset as a rational thinking brain. Shout out to Frankie, he's not here. A rational thinking brain looking at the top players in his league and having a little bit of like a submission on his part of being like, you know what? This isn't working. You guys are right. Like, this is not. We're 4 years into this, whatever it is, 5 years into it. And the product that we have built, the frame that we have built in the league and tour in which you guys play is not gearing you guys up to be the best players in the world. If it's not gearing you, John Rahm, and you, Bryson DeChambeau, up to be the best players in the world and compete and win at the Masters tournament and all the other majors, the U.S. Open, then how are we ever going to be able to do this over the next 10 years? And I never really thought of that like human assessment level from Yasser, and that might be true.
I don't know. I think you could take it so many ways with all the reports that I saw. So maybe we should just quit speculating and wait to see what happens.
What do you mean? Everything's fine. Nothing that happens on this show ever makes it to the outside. What do you mean?
Yeah, I thought we were all in our comfy place.
What if you could add an AI assistant to your work without leaving your work flow? Built into Microsoft Word, Excel, and Outlook, Copilot works where you work, helping you do more in the apps you already use. In Word, Copilot helps turn scattered notes into a first draft. Look, this is huge. And look, we use Copilot. It's amazing how much Microsoft's Copilot can do. We were using it at the Internet Invitational last year. I remember to get advice throughout the golf course, what types of grasses are going to affect the ball, the chips, the ball flight differently. And then the fact that you can also use Copilot for Microsoft Word for Microsoft Word, absolutely massive. And that is so, that hits home with me because for notes for the podcast, you open up Microsoft Word. I just fire things in there throughout the entire week about what I would like to talk about on the show. And then using Copilot, that AI assist, to, again, turn a scatterbrain into like legitimate draft of how to present things. Absolutely massive, Trent.
Oh, I mean, I'm largely a disorganized person. I do what you do. I open that document and I just throw stuff in there. Not even podcast stuff. I'll mix it, podcast, grocery list, all of it. I'll just throw it, things that I need, things that are going on in my brain. I'll just put them on there, and then Copilot can help me put that all together into a coherent thing, into a coherent plan that I need to execute going forward. So I mean, like you said, we use it for golf swings. We use it for organization. You can use it for just about anything. Give it a try, and I guarantee it will help your life.
Absolutely. The apps go further with Copilot. Learn more at m365copilot.com/work. Again, that is m365copilot.com/work. This episode is brought to you by Kraken, the official crypto platform of Barstool Sports, and the only platform we trust not to slice one out of bounds when the market gets shaky. It felt like a shot at us, by the way. Golf's all about consistency, same swing, same routine. Don't overthink it. Crypto's the same idea. You don't need to time the perfect shot. Just show up and keep swinging. And it's not just crypto. Kraken has stocks and ETFs as well. Over 11,000 equities they have at Kraken, Trent.
Yeah, it's sort of an all-inclusive platform, and you need a platform that you trust, especially in the crypto world. I'm sure people have read the headlines about everything that goes on in that world. You don't know. You need someone you trust and a platform that you can use, and you know you're doing the right thing. And Kraken has been that. You go on there, everything is right in front of you. It's a very usable interface. Kraken is what you need for your crypto needs. Honestly, get it and use it. You'll love it.
Over 13 million people trust it because it's simple, reliable, and built for long-term players. Here's what's in the bag: 350 plus cryptos to trade, 11,000 plus equities, including stocks and ETFs, recurring buys so you can stack while you're out chasing birdies, rewards for holding certain assets, geo restrictions apply. Get up to $200 when your buddies sign up through your referral link. Terms and conditions apply. Build your stack like your handicap, slowly and with fewer disasters. Kraken's giving you $25 in Bitcoin. New users, go to kraken.com/barstool. Use the code barstool25 when you sign up, deposit, and trade $100. Boom. $25 in BTC. Done. Again, that is barstool25, kraken.com/barstool. Look, we've talked a little bit about it, and we love it. We love AI assistant to help add efficiency to your work. It's huge. You got to have, everybody's talking about AI. You want to do it without having to leave your workflow. Built into Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Outlook, Copilot. Okay, that's what we've got. Copilot. We've talked about it before. We're going to talk about it a lot because it's excellent. It's helping us in our day-to-day lives, and it's going to help you with Microsoft Excel. Generates insights from your data. Everything runs on Excel. The whole world runs on Excel, it feels like. Now, Copilot is going to have this AI assistant. It's going to dramatically help you become more efficient, all without leaving your workflow when you are using Microsoft Excel, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about combining the powers of Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Copilot, you can do anything. You can literally do anything. Like you said, Excel largely runs the world anyway. You throw a little bit of Copilot in there, you're off and running. For everything you need, any part of your life, every aspect of it, you combine those two things, and you are going to be ahead of every single other person who is not doing that.
I have an Excel spreadsheet for how my Scotty Scheffler wagers are going this year. And
there you go.
I mean, it probably didn't take Copilot to tell me that it's not going that great, but if it was a little bit deeper and much more sophisticated, guess what? You're going to get all kinds of good insights from Copilot being involved with your Excel spreadsheet. So once again, the apps go further with Copilot. That's very important. Make sure you learn more at m365copilot.com/work. Once again, learn more at m365copilot.com/work.
What happens to these guys if they want to come back to the PGA Tour now? Like, if we're really playing this thing down the road where it's like, all right, the thing that could happen does happen. We've seen it with Brooks. We've seen it with P. Reed. Those those have been flowery and lovely and welcoming, and it's been great. Now these guys, if that gets pulled, I don't know what the course looks like for them to get back. I have no clue.
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously Rolop can just do whatever he wants. That's what he did with the player reentry program that he listed all the criteria, and there were like 3 people in the history of the world that fit that criteria, which is an awesome move. But that guy clearly unilaterally is able to make whatever decisions that he wants on this regard, so he could change at that point. I was watching him talk about it. I think Rich Lerner and Rex Harger were talking about it. Again, I've consumed a lot of reports today. My brain's not good enough to keep them all separate. I'm not Minority Report over here. But what they were talking about was that essentially, unless they come up with something new and unique like they did there, that they would all have to go the Patrick Reed route, which is they're suspended for at least a year from the last LIV event that they played in. So it would be like if they tee it up this week in Mexico, it would be at least 1 year away from right now, which would mean they wouldn't really be able to get on the PGA Tour until the end of 2027's season, because that's what Patrick Reed is going through right now. He is going to finish top 10 on the DP World Tour. That's a lot because he won twice, finished second once. So he has to sit out this whole year. I mean, Patrick Reed this week, instead of playing at the RBC Heritage for $20 million purse or whatever they're playing at the signature event, is in fucking, he's in like Switzerland or something, like competing on the DP World Tour, or he's just not playing this week. And like he's been doing that all year because he just can't get on the PGA Tour. I wouldn't be surprised if the tour went that route. They gave Bryson and Rahm and Cam Smith the option the same time that they gave Brooks Koepka the option. And I wouldn't be that surprised if they're like, yep, sorry. And then, you'd have to see those superstars if they really wanted to get back on the PGA Tour. It's not a foregone conclusion either that they could just go and get back on the tour by qualifying. Like they would have to go truly put the work in. They would have to go play well on the DP World Tour and go all over the world and use the other systems or the Korn Ferry Tour or Q School to like try to qualify their way back to the PGA Tour. I'd be surprised if the tour just kind of let it go that raw, but there's a chance, in which case I think that'd be pretty goddamn compelling to see that play out.
Some of those guys can come back even if they sit out a year that still are exempt, right? Like Bryson and Rahm and Cam Smith. But the other guys are who you talking about, like Abe Answer. What if Abe Answer wants to come back to the tour? He's got to go grind, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's no other way. He's got to go play the DP World Tour, and he thought LIV traveling was bad. Wait till you play that tour every week, going around all over the place. And do you still want to do it? Even, he's a young kid. He's probably 35 or even less than that in the prime of his career. If this all goes away and he wants to come back, I don't know. The whole thing's fascinating as hell. It's been fascinating to me for 5 years that it's still going on. I only watched one LIV show one time for about 10 minutes, and here I go being critical of a production again.
Oh, boy.
No, I walked in the hotel and
Rich,
I turned on the TV.
Get ready to clip it, Rich.
Yeah, and it's on Fox Sports, and it's on, and I had no idea what was going on the whole time. The scoreboard was the teams, but then they were playing match play. I think it was their tour championship, and man, I was so confused on watching. I didn't know who's on what teams, and I couldn't figure out what was going on the whole time.
Whenever I've watched a LIV broadcast, it feels like the entire time, like the tournament is about to start, is what it feels like. All the way till the last putt drops. The vibe, there's music playing in the background. There's like shifting colors on the leaderboard. And then like everyone's kind of like, they cut to anyone and they're all on different, somebody could be on like the first hole. So it almost feels like they're like wrapping up their practice and getting ready for the tournament the whole time is what it feels like. And then it's like over and they were playing the whole time. So it's a bizarre product. I think it was a little ambitious to be like the PGA Tour combined with the major championships have had 100 years to refine the professional golf, tournament golf at the highest level product. And we're going to completely change it. And that's going to be better. it'd be one thing if the PGA Tour and professional golf at the highest level was like 10 years old and you were like, nah, nope, there's some parts they haven't quite nailed yet. And you're going to be like, nah. They were like, we're going to take something that has been refined and refined and refined over 100 years and be like, we're going to change it in 54 holes, music in the background, and a shotgun start. Oh, that's gonna make it awesome. Like, that's fucking crazy, man. And that's like clearly didn't occur. And here we are.
Hey, did you hear the Patrick Reed take in the Masters? I thought it was fascinating how he wanted to get back to traditional golf. Did we talk about this on here?
No.
Yeah, so I love that when he was, he said when he went to go play the DP World events and he, was leading and he's the last guy on the range and he's, walking over to the first tee and he's already gotten caught by somebody on Sunday afternoon and he knows how pivotal the next few holes are going to be. And he's like, basically, when they do the shotgun start, I have no idea what's going on in the tournament and it doesn't feel like I'm winning when I'm winning.
I did hear that. I loved that. Dude, I loved him. That's kind of the insight that you give on our show that, like, you don't really hear of him talking about when you're on the practice range and you're there an hour before your tee time and you're the leader of the tournament, and how when you're there, there's 20 other people around. And then when it's 15 minutes before you go, it's just you and the guy that's one stroke behind you. And you're standing there and you're putting together, and then you're walking over to the tee together, and you went from this kind of crowded, loud-ish, there's a lot of noise practice area to like, now you're in your own fucking world for 4 hours with everyone chasing you. And that's what it's like to lead a golf tournament on Sunday. I think that's so cool. It's such like a painting of an experience that none of us will ever come close to getting.
Yeah, I used to tell people the loneliest time on the PGA Tour is having the lead on Sunday. And if you're out there, the tee off at 2:00, you get out there at 1, there's, like you said, 6 or 8, 10 guys on the range, no coaches, no therapists. Everybody's getting the hell out of town because they want to go home. And it's just you and your caddy. And I'm like, man, y'all were all here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But, now that it's time for me to win out here, everybody's running away. And it's a eerie like feel to the whole tournament as you're like nervous, energy grinding to get ready to go play in a Sunday. So I really appreciated P. Reed's take on that. When he said it, I didn't really pay attention to it, and I listened, and I was like, man, that makes so much sense. You would miss the hell out of that if you're just finishing on 13 and you shoot 65, and you're like, is that good enough? I don't know. DJ's on 16 green, and he might make it at the same time as you. So we'll have to see. Oh, there's going to be a playoff. Yep, he made it. All right, we got to shuttle you back into the range from 12, and then once we get DJ back from 9 where he finished, we'll go tee off on whatever hole you tee off. Fascinating.
There's a lot of reasons why I would never ever win a PGA Tour event, but I think the 2 p.m. Sunday tee time would be near the top of the list. That would be excruciating. I would spend all morning, and I definitely wouldn't sleep, so I'd spend all night and all morning throwing up in my hotel room. The fact that you have to wait around until 2 p.m. with everything going on like you guys are describing in great detail, that 2 p.m. tee time, I would see that and I would immediately lose the golf tournament.
Yeah. Look, Trent there's a very small window for you to get the right kind of golf out of Trent in terms of tee times. I don't think you're an early morning guy, and you're not a sit around and wait all afternoon guy. So it's like, if Trent's not in like the 11 a.m. window, I feel like you're just going to lose him, man.
That's just such a mental grind to like wait that long.
It's
it
horrible.
Sounds so stupid, but it like, you're just sitting there waiting, and you're like waiting, trying to accomplish something that is so difficult. And all I want to do is go do that thing right now. And you're not going to let me do it till 2 p.m. That to me is, it's another level of like mental fatigue.
Dude, on Saturday at the Masters, I want to say Rory and them teed off at 3:03 p.m. I think
it was like 2:45 or something both days.
Insane.
Saturday, Sunday. By the way,
Insane.
I nailed when that putt dropped on 18.
Did you?
Did you get it right on?
I didn't know this. People text me that watch our show and said, holy cow, you do know what you're talking about. That putt went in at 654.
54 or something like that?
Yeah.
Damn. All right, Kiz.
Ryan Richmond, do we have that? Is that correct? Do you know that?
Well, I mean, multiple people text me.
Yeah, I'm looking for it right now in my notes app. I wrote it down, but I gotta sift through this.
I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but was that on tape delay? Because if so, you could argue the time that it dropped.
Was it Riggs?
Too soon.
Riggs. We're trying to get out of this hole, man.
That was a joke. It was a joke. I never saw it go. Nope, I'm not going to say it.
What'd you say, Rich?
6:53, according to my broadcasts on YouTube TV. But
I think I guessed 6:54. And then I got the hockey right. I mean, I'm just killing y'all on this thing.
Yeah, was the Frozen Four a low scoring event? I actually haven't even checked the score.
It was 2-1. I guessed 3.
Damn.
He got it spot on.
Fuck.
You got it spot on.
And y'all all went like 7 and 8 or something.
I'm such an idiot too. Like, I know that usually like game 7s and gold medal games and national championship games, like the gold medal game a couple months ago was 2-1. It's like they're low scoring affairs. And here I am. I said like fucking 10.
Great week for Rory McIlroy, man. You know, just across the board in terms of winning and other leagues, and the whole thing has been pretty good for Mr. McIlroy.
Great week for Rory. I got to give him a shout out too. He woke up with 7% recovery on his Whoop band on Monday morning. I loved seeing that. I know he's an investor, and he's on with Will Ahmed, who is the founder of Whoop. I was in college with Will. I've known Will for like 20 something years. So I've followed him on Instagram forever. Now he's doing like interviews with Rory and stuff. So Rory's an investor in Whoop, wears Whoop. He's a big supporter of Whoop. I'm amazed that he like allows them to like access and then post that information. That's like pretty personal information. And it was like, it showed his recovery was all green for all tournament days, all 4 tournament days. And then, he was just red and like 7% recovery on Monday morning.
Yeah, I think they're doing something with the players because we are doing these reads on our broadcast, and it shows everybody's recovery average for the whole field or whoever all wears them. So they all must be able to jump in and get their data from the guys that are playing. So I don't know if they're sponsoring guys and that's how they're doing it, is that's part of their contract, or if the guys are just opting in. But there's a lot of information that pops up there on Whoop.
A lot. Yeah.
Didn't we do that for the Corn Ferry event that we did? We gave them access to our Whoop data, and they would put on the screen while we were interviewing a guy or after, like how much sleep I got. I think my heart rate at one point, it was hot and I was running around. It was like 195 in Chicago. And I was like, that was one segment. But like, yeah, it's interesting. I love that data. I'm always asking people how much sleep they're getting. I'm so interested in how much sleep everybody's getting. So I love seeing all the data I can get on these guys.
Does anyone sleep as much as you do, Trent?
That's what I'm always asking people. Like, how much sleep do you get a night?
I try to get about 8 hours, but I'm on about 8 hours for the last 3 days.
So I shoot for 8. I usually land right around 8 if I can.
Yeah.
I target 8, but I usually wake up after about 6 and I'm like ready to go.
Riggs, do you ever take your Whoop off when you know you're going to misbehave?
No, I keep it on and make sure it's charged, that I'm held accountable for my actions.
I see. I just totally took mine off to take a shower before I left to go on the sunning trip, and I just left it on my bedside table.
No, I know plenty of folks who take it off before they go on like a bender weekend. If we go on a golf trip or something, they won't even bring it on their trip because they just don't want to see all the red and what it's doing to you. I find that I need it, and like last night at a hockey game last night, it was like an 8:30 game. We were done by like 10, and then it's like the big debate on a Tuesday night. Everyone's like, "Yeah, you're going up for a couple pitchers of beer," and I was like, "No." And the reason for no is because of my Whoop. It wasn't because of anything else. I know in my theory, in my head, I could have 2 or 3 beers, a slice of pizza, go home, and I'll feel fine the next day. But I know my heart rate overnight would have been like 72 instead of 50. And I just can't have that if I'm going to live past like 50. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you just can't do that all the time. So, I'll keep it on. By the way, Whoop, I believe Whoop is a big sponsor of the Internet Invitational coming up. So I think that with this data, I think we're going to try to implement some of that, because we have done this before, kids, with like tee shots and stuff. I think we've like looked at Trent's looked at his whoop. I think you did it when we played Kiz, maybe when we played him in the first ever 4-man scramble or one of those. Where
I remember looking at my whoop heart rate score when we played against the country music stars.
Oh, that's right.
At a Troubadour, I was so nervous because I was just nervous. I'm a nervous guy in big situations. I'm not like Kiz, which I've talked about Kiz before, like to people, and I'm like, I don't think this guy has a nervous system. I watch this guy, and he doesn't get nervous about anything. Certainly, nothing that we're doing together would make him nervous enough to be nervous. But I just watch Kevin Kisner, and I'm like, this guy's never nervous. I am the opposite. So when I have a big tee shot, my heart rate's at like 173, and it's like my heart's gonna pump out of my chest here.
No, not now that we're striping it.
True. That was always when I was like, great. It's like people like see it before when I was hitting the drives, wipey and right. I was like, people are going to see a side of me that I don't want them to see. Now there's confidence. I want them to see it. I want them to watch it. I want them to look at it. Look at my drive.
Haircut season, it feels like in the springtime that like your hair almost grows faster. People are outside more often. Maybe that vitamin D sunshine, you're getting more natural exposure to the world, and you're not sitting inside like a hermit for the entire winter. So it's haircut season. You got to get out there. You got to deal with it. Sport Clips. Okay. They're bringing the inspiration of the baseball field. That smell, fresh spring grass, leather gloves, the whole ballpark vibe. They're bringing that inspiration to the Sport Clips MVP haircut experience with new Playmaker scents. They got birchwood, spring grass, new leather glove. You get the hot steam towel. We're big Sport Clips guys right here.
At the time our great listeners are listening to the show, I will be sitting in a Sport Clips chair. I need a haircut. I have to have one. It might not look like I have long hair to you, but I can feel it. I agree with what you said. I feel like my hair is growing a little bit faster. I am at Sport Clips all the time, but I'm never waiting around in a Sport Clips because I go on the app, I get in line, it tells me, hey, there's going to be a chair open in 24 minutes. I show up 24 minutes later, I sit down, I get my haircut, I get the MVP experience, I smell nice, I get a hot towel, and I get a great haircut. And that is why Sport Clips is the best. I love it. I'm literally there a couple times a month. I love it there.
Make sure you try the Playmaker scents at Sport Clips before they are gone. Again, that's only at Sport Clips, the app, the Playmaker scents, the MVP haircut experience, the professionals in men's hair. Sport Clips, go check them out. Offer ends May 2nd, 2026 at participating locations only and where permitted by law. AI assistant. Okay, AI assistant, you got to add it to your work without leaving your workflow. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're talking about. Of course, we know it works with Microsoft Word. We know it works with Microsoft Excel. It also works with Microsoft Outlook. Okay, it cuts through the notes to get you up to speed faster. That's incredibly important. I know a lot of folks use Outlook for mail, email. Trent, does anybody on earth have time to really sit there and comb through every single word of every single email that's sent to them?
No, there's no chance. And I've seen this. If you throw an email, like a really long email, whether it's from work or a personal friend or whatever, and you're just like, I don't have time. I basically need the cliff notes of this email. You give it to Copilot and it'll just hit you with bullet points. These are the important things you need to know. It takes out all the fluff. It'll even write emails for you. It'll do all these things for you. So you are a more efficient human being. And that's, time is money. You get more things done. You're more productive, and that's what you want to be, and that's what Copilot and Outlook will help you with.
Huge. In Outlook, again, it's going to cut through all the BS, all the crap, and it's going to get you up to speed much faster. That is because Microsoft Copilot is built into Word, Excel, and Outlook. It works where you work. It makes sure you don't have to leave your workflow. It is that AI assistant that's going to help you get your work done much better. The apps go further with Copilot. Once again, the apps that Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Outlook, those apps go further with Copilot. Learn more. Make sure you learn more at m365copilot.com/work. That is m365copilot.com/work. Kids, I got a question. You have any stance on the golf ball rollback and distance debate? I know during the Masters it always comes up. I know Gary Player our good friend who hosted myself and Trent a few years ago, he said they should roll the golf ball back 60 yards. 60. He said 60 yards. Boy, it made me laugh out loud. I saw a bunch of response tweets that were just like, oh, and Rory absolutely steps on that when it carried 240. It's just like roasted him very good.
Yeah, let's move it back 60 yards so when you play with Rory, you outdrive him. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Sick. That'd be cool.
What? Yeah. What is the coolest thing about golf is that us three can walk into a pro shop and buy the exact same golf balls and the exact same driver, and I can just be better at it than you with the same stuff. And that's what makes the game great. And I don't see what world. That's why we have handicaps. We can play a match. We have different tees, so we can tee off from different areas, and we can all enjoy ourselves. And I don't understand what we're accomplishing by making a professional say, "Hey, you need to suck more. Play this ball."
Yeah, to play devil's advocate, I believe that their opinion is that, a lot of the shot value that golf courses were intended when they were built has been lost due to distance gains, and the only way to keep up is unsustainable because you run out of land, you run out of the amount of water, the amount of resources it takes to even like keep that, take it, buy it, extend it. All of that is just a slope that if you keep going down it, it's unsustainable. And so their answer is you can make a lot of the golf courses that are iconic that you want to go to, the 13th hole at Augusta, type of argument. You don't have to go and find more earth. You just roll the golf ball back and you'll be able to solve a big problem.
So we're going to make it a drastic change to a professional sport over earth moving?
Well, Brandel's he's very much on your side. And Trent and I have talked about this a million times, as well as Frankie. And I think I've been on every side of this argument over the course of it. But that is largely, he makes a very good point of like, okay, you're talking about a few tee boxes that have to be moved back 10 or 20 yards occasionally. And for like a couple hundred people in the world, that's just not that big of a deal. How hard is it to do that?
I totally agree. And just make your golf course really firm and fast and make some wind blow, and it doesn't matter. It's going to make it hard for everyone. If you make the golf ball, I just don't get it. I haven't seen the golf ball and tried it. I don't know if people even have, but I don't understand if we're doing all this just for professionals, just so we don't have to make golf courses buy more land because they want to make it longer because their golf holes aren't architecturally sound as they were when they were designed. Just not even on my radar, dude. Not even in this head that I can make any of that make sense because I just think it's outrageous. We already have rules, right? Like we have limits to what the ball can do, the driver can do.
Yeah.
So what other sport in the world has changed their rules to make their players suck more? The basketball hoop is still 10 feet tall and everyone in the NBA can now dunk. When Gary Player played on the PGA Tour, nobody could dunk. The football field is still 100 yards, and dudes are playing linebacker running 4.3s. 30 years ago, they were running 5.1s, right? The hockey goal is still the same size, except these guys are giants now.
It's funny. They actually made the goalies pads smaller. They 20 years or so ago, they changed a bunch of rules in hockey, and they've made the goalie pads smaller, so they made it easier to score. And I would say they've made the rules in the NFL easier to score, right? They want offense, just like in that. They don't want to make it harder.
So I don't want to watch Rory drive at 280 or whatever you said. I think it's cool that Rory can hit at 330 and I can't. That's why he's winning the Masters and I'm getting yelled at.
On this particular podcast, on this particular issue, I am agreeing with Kiz. You could go back in the archives, and I'm sure I've been on the other side of it. But yeah, I mean, and a lot of the marketing around all this stuff, the sport in general, is the ball is going far and we're hitting it far, and watch this event because Rory the line he takes at Pebble, you're not going to believe it. He hits it so far. And we're just going to now step backwards and be like, all right, so now at Pebble Beach, he's now going to aim a little bit more left. Actually, he's going to put it down the fairway. That's to me is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous.
And the best part, Trent, is you can go to Pebble Beach and you can see that line. And then you can go, how does he do that? Because there's no way I could do it. That's the best part of being successful at what you do.
Right. That what makes golf great partially is being able, like, I'm not going to be able to play a baseball game at Wrigley Field. They're not going to let me on. They're going to drag me off of that thing. But I can go to Pebble and play that same golf course that Rory played, and I can be like, wow, I am 2 football fields behind where Rory usually ends up here. That is cool. That's a part of golf that other sports do not have.
Yeah. I think I agree very much with you guys. I think a big part of the conversation too that is in line with where it feels like we've all fallen on this right now is that the amount of money it would cost the equipment companies for R&D and development to create and then have a ball for PGA Tour players, exclusively or whatever to play, that cost would just end up going on to the average recreational golfer, right? Like TaylorMade, our great friends, they can't just eat billions of dollars in R&D because the PGA Tour decided they want to play, or the R&A and the USGA decided they want to play a tournament at Cypress Point again. It's like, if they're going to spend all that money developing a golf ball, they're going to offload that cost onto the consumer. That's going to make everything that we buy from an equipment standpoint more expensive to make up for what they had to pay to come up with that ball, which nobody's going to really buy. I mean, there'll be some people that play it, but not really. So
imagine being the guy who buys that ball, who is like,
we've talked about that before.
It's the tour ball. The way I've been driving the ball the last 3 years, I'm going to tell people I've been using that ball. I got an early look at it. I got an early release, and I've been using it for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, my whole life.
What if all the tour players go to Brian Rollout and say, we're not going to play the new ball. We're going to play the PGA Tour, and we're going to play whatever ball we want to play. We like the way it is. Does Brian Rollout go, okay, manufacturers, you don't have to make that ball for my tour players. We can make our own rules. Speculating again, but
that's interesting though.
It is, because you've also had the Masters, and Fred Ridley has spoken like he's in support of the rollback and whatnot, but like they haven't, to my knowledge, fully committed to it yet. So you could have a schedule where it's like Kiz is saying, PGA Tour events, DP World Tour events, the Masters tournament, and the PGA Championship. The same ball that they're using now is fine. And then when they go play Shinnecock in a month, it's like they got to use the new ball.
This would all get so messy, but I almost want it to happen for a guy accidentally using an old ball in the tournament where he got to use the new ball. And there's this huge rules controversy of, he's hitting it, he's carrying it 310. He's clearly using the ball. It just gets thrown out of the tournament. The whole thing's a mess. Yeah, and you're right, Kiz. If they're not all on the same page, now this whole thing, it's starting to feel a little Mickey Mouse, where it's like, you can use this ball here, you can use this ball here. It's like, now we're getting to a point where it's ridiculous.
I agree. We got Harbor Town this week. Kiz, talk to me about the RBC Heritage a little bit. I know this is a Pete Dye course, quite different from a lot of the courses that we see out there. I know Trent's been down there before, but I feel like this is like a Jim Furyk type golf course. This is a Kevin Kisner type golf course, maybe?
Yeah, Jim Furyk beat me in a playoff there. Thanks for reminding me.
I didn't even fucking know that. That's insane.
Yeah, I was like, can't you let the young guy win once, you old dude? Yeah, I birdied 18 to get into the playoff. Then we both I make a 30-footer on 18 in the playoff. He makes a 20-footer to keep going. Then he makes a 20-footer on 17 to win for birdie. That was before I'd won, too, so I never thought I was going to ever win.
You're like, God, this is impossible.
Yeah, impossible. Harbor Town, completely new golf course. Reno, Davis Love. First time. I haven't asked any of the guys what they think. But I don't think he made any drastic changes. There's no land there to move, so he can't make, he'd have to put a tee box on a condo to be able to make it longer.
Right.
I think he just kind of, what they all say, take it back to the original design, however that is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't ask, but that's what everybody says.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that they did a full reno. Always a nice week. It's a nice little come down, I feel like, from the Masters. Not quite as serious and intense. Harbor Town's such a cool that little town is just fantastic with the harbor right there. and the lighthouse and all of it. It's just it's a nice chill little week. It feels like.
Yeah, it was my favorite week of the year with the family to go to. All the players rent houses in the neighborhood, have cookouts, kids playing in pools. It was nice after the Masters. We didn't feel hectic. Easy travel for me, which is nice. I could just drive down there. And it's, people I grew up with, South Carolinians all coming to hang out. The weather's normally awesome. So it was one of my favorite stops on tour every year.
I love this week. I really do. I've got my Scotty bet going that I've been doing every time. I picked the wrong stretch of like 8 tournaments to pick Scotty to win every tournament, if we're being honest with each other. But I'm going to stay the course, man. I had a good week last week despite it. I'm going to stay the course with the DraftKings Sportsbook. Otherwise, gentlemen, I want to shout out Egg Salad Hat Guy. That guy's he got absolutely roasted on the internet for his egg salad hat. And then he did, I think it was with golf.com. He did an interview and he was perfect, man. All of his answers were perfect. He goes, the comments have been really funny. Either people love it or they hate it. All the negativity, however, seemed to be just outside the gate. I anticipated some people not being very happy about it. And then he was just doing this Q&A and talking about all the hats that they made. His name is Chip Brown, which is the most perfect name for the egg salad hat guy. So I wanted to shout that guy out because while everybody was hating on him, I kind of love that he just owned who he is. And he did an interview and just leaned into it. So I love that guy. Shout out to Egg Salad Hat Guy.
Way to go, Egg Salad Hat Guy.
That's right. All right. We got the Barstool Classic starting up on Monday. We're going to be at the park in West Palm. So look out for footage from that. We're going to kick this thing off. We got the new Hater match against Doug. Hater Season 3 has commenced. It's the 10th match. I posted a bunch of the DMs from Doug. Just a crazy man, just an absolute psycho to be sending those. And I told him that when we were on the tee. So I don't want to give away the result, but people could go watch that. It was a hell of an affair down in Ponte Vedra Beach, blowing like 30 miles an hour. And yeah, it's episode 10, baby. We just keep rolling with the Hater series.
On that quickly, I really do. It's respect is a weird word for what I'm about to lay out, but I have respect for people who are that way in real life when they're that way to you in the messages. Like in the messages, I mean, ever since the internet was born, we've seen this, where if you're anonymous and your name isn't listed and you're 42069 guy, you'll say whatever you want. But when you go to the actual golf course and Riggs is there, you're there for a hater match and you're still that guy, those guys, again, weird, have a level of respect from me.
Was he talking trash to you in person?
Yeah.
Like he was on the internet?
He pretty much stayed the line. Yeah, I mean, it was weird interactions for sure throughout kind of the entire thing. He was like making fun of me, to the camera, which you don't see. It's funny watching the video back because I talk to the GoPro a lot. We're in separate carts. He talks to the GoPro a lot. You don't have any idea what he's saying, but the viewer, you don't really know as the viewer that I don't really have any idea. So it's very funny. Like he's like making fun of me and mocking me kind of the whole time throughout the video.
I saw a few of your clips today, and I was like, man, Riggs really doesn't like this guy. I don't know. This seemed like the one you hated the most of the haters.
Yeah, I think it's very weird concept because golf almost exclusively when you interact with someone you're about to play golf with on the tee, it is a very cordial, jovial experience. You're about to have 4 or 5 hours together. That's going to be like the best 4 or 5 hours of your week. We're playing golf. You're not at work. Beautiful out here. Let's go. This whole thing is predicated on a disdain for each other. I don't want to, I try not, like the series itself kind of does it. So I try not to glorify this type of activity on the internet. I think it's ridiculous to send these types of messages to a stranger. And so when I meet these people, I'm like, it's so hard in person to take your hat off, shake somebody's hand and not just be like, look them in the eye. Hey man, how are you? Yeah, let's have fun today. It's very difficult, but I try to remind myself when you show up, like, you're a fucking piece of shit. Like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, what is wrong with you? You know what I'm saying? What is wrong with you?
That is why I was dancing around the word respect, because I'm with you mostly. Like it's ridiculous what that people will just say to you, like, I don't know, man. I'm one guy and you're another person and we don't know each other. We never met. And then you're just being super mean. And then, so I get it. But that's why the series is so great, because you are taking those people and putting them in a situation where they have to see the person that they have been completely ridiculous to. And to see that dynamic, the series does incredibly well. That's why people love it.
I'm with you. There is a respect level for like, it's almost psychotic respect for like, it's almost too far. It's almost, I don't respect it. I'm like, are you sure you want to put yourself on camera and attach your real life face to like this activity on the internet? Are you sure you want to do that? And so, no, I do appreciate that. And just so folks know, I mean, we had a beer with Doug afterwards and talked with him for like an hour before we went off to the airport. We had a very cordial conversation. He sat there with me and Jared and Nate the Great and Brendan, and we had a beer, talked about life and stuff. But leading up until whenever the final puck drops, I have no interest in being like friends with these guys. I think it's like fucking crazy people. So yeah, go check that out on the internet, on YouTube, the Foreplay channel. Make sure you subscribe, like it, leave a comment if you want. You can say whatever you want. There was some really bad golf in there at times. There was a little bit of good golf. And then Tuesday, April 21st of next week, our Aronimink PGA Championship merchandise will be going live. So we're going to hype this up again for next Tuesday's show, but I wanted to get it in there as well. The merch is awesome this year. Awesome. Aronimink's really cool. Donald Ross course. I have a soft spot in my heart for Donald Ross courses. The first cool course I ever got to play in my life were Donald Ross courses, Skokie Country Club outside of Chicago. Obviously, all of Pinehurst. One of the only things in this world that I actually own is on a Donald Ross course in Pinehurst. I love that place, and I love Donald Ross. Donald Ross, Aronimink, PGA Championship outside of Philly coming up next month. It's going to be great, and we love the PGA of America. We've been able to work with them for years now on co-creating merchandise with the PGA logo, with the Aronimink logo, with our logo, all kinds of cool concepts that our merchandise team works on. So you'll see us teasing that and rolling it out over the next few days, but Tuesday, you'll be able to purchase that on the internet. So make sure folks are ready for that. Otherwise, everyone have a lovely, lovely, lovely weekend. We appreciate all the listening per usual, all the watchers on YouTube. We're getting much, much more people watching our podcast on YouTube. Probably the Kevin Kisner effect. We'll just maybe every couple of weeks we'll just try to get crazy controversial. We'll turn it into Skip Bayless on this fucking show. I don't know. But whatever, people are watching on YouTube. So I love that. Might be great work by Ryan Richard. It probably is great work by Ryan Richard, just actually getting people going to the YouTube. The thumbnails have been great. The whole presentation, by the way, Ryan Richard, like when I go through and watch the YouTube version, I'm pretty blown away I know that's like manual, legitimate work that is put into that to like have different boxes, zoom in, zoom out. There's times where you put stuff on the screen that like makes it feel like a TV show. Like that's insane work that you're doing. So great work, Ryan Richard, on the video version of the podcast. I think it's come a long way in the last year. So phenomenal stuff. We appreciate everybody who watches and listens. We appreciate all our sponsors. Have a great weekend. Be safe and hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.